Welcome to Live Better Longer. I'm your host, Bill Borton. As we get older, many of us think about ways we can simplify our lives, including downsizing. But actually doing it can be a daunting task. My guest this week, Hvostal, is both a realtor and a senior advocate. He's passionate about serving others. Chris takes the time to understand the unique issues each of his clients face. He provides value by being a complete resource with a broad network of aligned professionals. Through his extended team, his clients can receive a complete solution to the issues they face as they age. Welcome to the show, Chris.
How you doing, Bill?
Pleasure having you.
Thanks for having me.
So Chris, how did you decide to get involved with helping baby boomers and seniors?
In all honesty, I kind of fell into it a little bit. I ran into a few scenarios. I sold a few estates. And there was one particular person I want to tell you about that really got me thinking more serious about it. Her name was Miss Blanche. That's just always what I called her. I met her when she was trying to sell her house down at 20th and Federal. And she was getting knocks on her door every single day. Someone trying to buy her house, It wasn't in great condition, but she'd lived there for 30, 40 years. Mm-hmm. And when I had first met her, she had finally gotten this pretty sizable offer for $255,000. Now in her mind, she had bought the house for $10,000. She's doing great. But when I came to her, I said, listen, I'll help you sell the house. If you want to take that offer, if I can't sell it, take it. You won't owe me anything. But I think you're underselling. She gave me the chance at it. And in 4 days, I sold her house for $311,000, made her $38,000 more, and actually got her onto the next house with her and her family. And so, you know, just the spread of what has happened in real estate is so great that I realize that there's a lot of people trying to take advantage of some folks who don't realize what their house is really worth. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, this falls into the senior category a lot. And so I realize that there are a lot of people out there that need an advocate, and you know, I realized I could fill that hole.
That's great. Well, elder abuse is certainly, you know, a hot topic these days. There's many forms that it takes, some involving, you know, external sources, and many of them involving family members. So,
that's right.
But what makes you relate so well, or what makes seniors and older folks relate to you so well?
Well, you know, I think I just honestly have a lot of respect. I had to unfortunately watch my grandmother decline. To tell a hard story, my grandmother lost my grandfather and then lost one of her sons, my uncle. And then unfortunately, she took the path of taking her own life. And we had to watch this decline and watch her be isolated and, you know, live alone. And it was a difficult thing to, you know, to see happen. And so I realized that there's probably a lot of people out there who don't appreciate some of these folks with more life experience than most of us out there, and just kind of take them almost as in the way. Mm-hmm. And so I think I just take the different approach of relating to them by having conversations that they, you know, talk through their experience and appreciate who they are and who they were and who they now are as well.
It's amazing that so many people do underestimate the value that older people bring to the community, to society, academics. You know, they've got a lot of life experience, as you say. You know, wisdom doesn't come any other way than having a lot of miles on you.
That as simple as that. Yeah. I mean, obviously, I'm older than some people. I have plenty of people older than me. I have more life experience than some of the younger agents that I try to coach and mentor. But anyone older than me, like, I'm just going to be quiet and listen.
So, when it comes to the phrase, in other words, become a cliche, aging in place, what's your interpretation of that, and how does that, you know, impact what you do with people?
Well, so a lot of people, you know, in the market, they don't want to move. They feel comfortable in their home, but now they live by themselves. But the house has become almost dangerous for them. Sometimes the steps are really narrow. They're getting older. They can't even walk up them very well, and they live by themselves. But they're not ready to go into another home. And so what can happen is we can help modify the home to make it safer for them in order to stay in the house, not sell it, and actually just live a more comfortable life where in this community that they've known, where their church or synagogue are close by, and they can just continue to live in the community and with the neighbors that they've known all their lives.
Now, when you say we modify the home, I don't think you're going out there with your tool belt.
Amazingly, no.
This gets back to you having built an extensive network of different service providers that you know, like, and trust.
Correct, exactly right. So obviously I'm not the one out there manually putting together chair lifts or handrails or replacing doorknobs with levers, but I have built a great network of guys who I do trust to refer to the folks when they do need that assistance. And in doing this, what I do is I'm building a relationship with a family at that point. And one day when, I don't make any money on the aging in place, I don't, if that's just for the relationship building, my business is a relationship business, and I'm here to fulfill that as best I can.
Let's exemplify the Gogiver philosophy.
Exactly.
I mean, if you help enough people, the word gets around, and either the people that you've helped or their families or just the community at large starts to understand that you're not just out hustling listings.
Exactly right. I mean, it's a long-term game. I intend on being in this business for a long time. Until hopefully I'm in my senior years. And so, trying to just hustle listings or look for the now or be transactional, one and done, that's not the way I want to do business. I'd rather build relationships, and the business comes through, that philosophy.
So if somebody decided they wanted to sell their house and were talking to you about it, how might that process be the same or possibly different than if they were talking to someone else?
Well, I'm going to stick to specifically sticking with baby boomers and seniors, maybe people who have been in the house for a while, just to stick to that category. Otherwise, we can go off in the weeds, I think. But same being able to modify the house to help them stay in place, we can also help bring in people that would help cosmetically get it ready to sell or renovate a kitchen. A lot of people get used to living with the same things for so long, but sometimes we can certainly increase the equity in the house by doing minor renovations and also make it sellable. And there's two things we like to look at. Well, sometimes it's cosmetic upgrades, which are very simple, and then we have total renovations, updating an entire kitchen or adding a bathroom. But what I like to do is only look at the money that we're going to spend as long as it's going to make 1.5 to 2 times the money on the sale.
That's a tough call sometimes, though, isn't it?
But I've had a lot of success with this. I think one of the things I'm really good with is definitely analyzing the market. One of the things that makes me a little bit different is I look at the overall economy of the market too. So being able to look at the scale of the house and like what's happening, and seeing that all the houses that sell this much higher all have half bathrooms, and there is space to do it, and I know it costs between $5,000 and $8,000 to do it. Knowing if we can get $20,000 by doing that, it is a tough call. It's definitely something that my clients have to feel really comfortable doing. They have to feel comfortable with the service providers I'm going to refer to them to do it. But I do make the process very simple of saying, here's the providers, here's what I'd like to, I'd like for you to do, and then here's what the result will be.
Now, I know that you are passionate about helping people, and I know that many of the things that you do to help people, you're not directly delivering. So when you're relying on other people and your reputation or your brand is hanging in the balance, you got to be careful. So occasionally you can stumble and get over it, but you've only got one reputation. So how do you go about deciding what services and what service providers you want to align yourself with?
It's a great question. So a lot of my service providers, I actually meet with them one-on-one first. I make sure they understand that we're all in line with the goals that we're trying to achieve, who we're trying to achieve them for. It is a difficult process. I mean, I'm sure you've worked with a contractor at least once in your life. Unfortunately, you can get some unreliable folks.
Oh, you have good and bad with everything.
With everything, right? The good part is, so actually, a lot of the people that I use are people I've all used myself. So I'm also, do some rehab and construction work. And so by using the people myself, I already know these are people I can rely on because I've provided value to them. And as I keep providing value to them, I've become the #1 referral source for some of these guys, which actually all creates a win-win scenario. I refer them business. They take better care of the person I refer to because it came from me. And then of course I get better service from them when I need something as well. And so it keeps this win-win scenario going. And they also know that they become accountable to me and not just the client I sent them to.
That's really smart, Chris.
Yeah.
Because when they know that you're either going to provide them with repeat business or not, now they've got to make sure they always exceed expectations.
That's exactly right. And I always tell my clients, whoever I refer to, whether my client or not yet, use my name.
Now, beyond competency, you also have to be able to match up people with personalities and style as well. You know, sometimes you have a client that can't make a decision, they're real wishy-washy. It's, you know, the people who wait for all the lights to turn green before they leave home, or the people that just get in the car and go, you know, figuratively speaking. You got to make sure that you match people up the right way, because you don't want to send a contractor in that doesn't listen. He may be really good at what he's doing, but, you know, they have to be able to relate to your client.
I'm not going to tell you I've been 100% successful in always matching up the proper contractor to the proper person. There's definitely, I've gotten feedback, but I always give that feedback back to the contractor as well.
Well, that comes back to you listening to your clients, which I know from the first conversation that we had before I invited you to be on the show. You know, you really take the time to understand what matters to your clients.
I think it's the most important thing to do. I mean, I'm not there to accomplish my goals. I'm there to help them accomplish their goals. And so if I don't know what their goals are, and I can't actively listen to what they're trying to tell me their goals are, if they just say sell a house and I'm saying, okay, sell a house, that's not really the goal. The goal is for them to actually move on to somewhere else. So we focus on that goal first. Well, great, if I sell your house in 30 days, you have nowhere to go. That's not much of a success if we don't have the end goal in mind. So absolutely, I'm always trying to find out where is it that they need me the most, and sometimes it's not even what they're asking me to come over and talk to them about.
Well, sometimes they don't even really know what they want to ask.
Sometimes that's what I'm there for, right?
Indeed.
To help them to self-discover.
Well, we'll be back after a word from our sponsors with more of my conversation with Chris Hvostal.
Say we've got grit, and we'll take it as a compliment. Because it's our uncommon drive, our spark within, that brings us together and sets us apart. We are temple made. And when others take shortcuts, when others take breaks, when others take the easy way, we take charge.
I work 13 hours a day, 6 days a week. So when I'm off the clock, I gotta get stuff done. So when I need a snack, I need something healthy, tasty, and easy to eat. Like wonderful pistachios without the shells. They're protein-powered, delicious, and great on the go. And that's perfect for me. Thanks, Liz. A woman without a lot of time.
Whether you're a gourmet cook or just want to eat like one, visit Rostelli Market Fresh, your home for the freshest, locally sourced ingredients to please everyone who loves great food. Our organic meats, quality seafood, and free-range poultry are cut fresh to order. Chefs create culinary-inspired prep foods made fresh every day, which pair nicely with our vast selection of fine wines and spirits. Choose from handmade pastas, artisan cheeses, organic produce, and grocery items, all from the finest purveyors. Rostelli Market Fresh, from our family to yours.
I'm your host, Bill Borton, here with Chris Hvostal from Keller Williams. Chris, before the break, we talked a lot about the different ways that you help people, but and you touched on it very briefly when you were talking about one of your first clients. But somebody finds out that their house is worth a whole lot more than they paid for it, and then they go to sell it. There's tax consequences in some cases. Tell me about that.
Yeah, there's definitely tax consequences. Some people bought their house as low as $20,000 if they've been there long enough. And all of a sudden now today, they've taken good care of it. Their house is worth well over $350,000. And they have questions about capital gains, paying taxes, what does that look like on my sale, besides the other closing costs. And the protections that the government offers for profits on a house are, for a single individual, someone who is no longer married, is $250,000 of gains. I bought for 20, I've sold for 300, I've gained 250, I pay capital gains on the small amount, $30,000 that's left over. However, there's all kinds of ways to reduce that further with really good accountants, tax attorneys, and those are all connections I have as well. If still married, it's up to $500,000 in gains.
Now, when you talk about gains over the purchase price, it's actually gains over the purchase price plus capital improvements.
Plus
right?
capital improvements.
So if you've put, $50,000 worth of capital improvements into a house, which people may or may not have done,
Right.
as long as they have reasonable records of having done that,
That's
then
right.
that increases their basis, right?
That's correct. That increases their basis or or you could look at it also as reducing the, as a negative on the amount gained. Correct. That's what a great accountant or tax attorney would help you do. Like I said, those are, I don't fall in the category of practicing law, obviously,
Good idea.
but I do have the professionals that I would refer to in that regard. If someone's fortunate enough to be in the situation where they've made a lot of money, we definitely want them to keep as much as possible.
Sure, it's always the ideal. So when you find out where people want to go when they've sold a house, 55 and over, continuing care retirement community, downsize to a smaller residence, possibly with a homeowners association.
Usually, yep.
What types of advice and counsel do you give people?
Well, so the trick is a lot of people have bought homes, but a lot of people haven't sold homes. A lot of people bought one house and they stayed in it for a very long time, 30, 40 years. Or even if they did buy and sell, it's been a long time. The laws have changed since then. And so for a lot of people, this is almost a brand new experience, even if they've done it once or worked with a realtor before. And so what we want to make sure we do is that they know what the current market conditions are, what the process is to close, how long it takes, and then also the process to possibly buy something or move someone depending on their exact situation. Everybody will be a little bit different, obviously. Some people will have the cash to not wait until the house sells. Some people will need the equity out of the house in order to make that purchase or move or transition happen.
So you really need to know as much as possible what the details are as to what's going to happen on the other end, and not just what's going to happen, but the timing. Because if you do a really great job under a certain set of circumstances, but you kind of missed something, it could end up really blowing up for your client.
It can cause a lot of consequences for sure. Consequences, I think, is a great word for how that would go about. But that's why when I first meet with someone, it's really about making a strategic plan of action of what happens in best case scenario if it sells fast and for top dollar and this happens and this. Are you ready to pack up everything, get it out, do it? What's the plan? Where are we going? And then when those offers come in, how can I negotiate those offers to give us the amount of time we need? Some people try to come in and close quick, but actually I need a longer close, and that might be a negotiation point over the price of we actually need more time in order to make this transition happen.
Because time is money.
Time is money, absolutely. And the last thing we can have is ever having a client end up with nowhere to go. 100% record so far.
So I know that you did not start out right after school in the real estate business, and
That's
so
true.
you've had some other business and life experience, which has actually been helpful
That's
in your
correct.
current career. So, but when I start thinking about you and some of the other realtors I know, you're a little different in some ways,
I appreciate that.
and in a positive way.
I know what
so
you meant.
when you think about you and other realtors, what makes you special? How are you different and why?
I really think I look at real estate from how it affects each person and the unique experience that each one has. I think what is really easy to happen is, as a realtor, in the last 3 years, I've helped people buy 65 homes, right? And I think any given realtor has a good amount of home experience, and it's really easy to not remember that the person you're helping is only doing this every 5, 10, or even longer, sometimes 20 years. And that this is a unique experience for them in their life, and that each experience is that special. Rather than them being transactional, this is someone's life that you're really coming in helping them with this huge life event. And I always keep that in my mind so I can be very empathetic to their situation. And besides just trying to be very personable in that sense, I'm actually just very good at being an economist in the market, looking at the market conditions, making sure that we're really looking at, is this the right move? Is this the right money? Just transitioning the whole thing and being their counselor through this entire process. I think the label realtor has some negative connotations to it.
Kind of like an insurance salesman or a car salesman, or
Anything that
maybe
ends with
even
salesman.
an attorney.
And so I really like to think of myself more as like a counselor that comes in and a resource that comes in the professional that someone needs in that moment to get them through this moment in their life, and then help them. And then, of course, then my license is that it just happens to be my license is that I can help them sell or buy a house.
Well, I think the one thing you and I have in common is that while we both live on commission, we're really educators and consultants that get paid on commission.
My thing I like to tell people is I'll never pressure you into making a bad decision. I'll only give you enough information that you can make a great one all on your own.
Chris, I'm sure that some of our viewers are going to want to know how to reach you. And even though you're really only doing the real estate business in the Philadelphia area, that Keller Williams, the firm that you're aligned with, is national. And so you can help connect people with a good realtor with Keller Williams anywhere in the country.
That's right.
But if they want some counsel and they want to talk to you, what's the best way to reach you?
Sure, that would probably be my cell phone number. My cell phone is 267-825-1192, or email, I'm going to spell this for you, it's Chris, C-H-R-I-S, at chrishvostal.com, C-H-R-I-S-H, V as in Victor, O-S-T-A-L.com.
Not exactly the way it sounds.
Not exactly the way it sounds.
Yes, but it's memorable, like you.
Thank you.
Indeed. So, Chris, real estate in Philly, what's hot right now?
It's thanks for asking, Bill. It's what's hot right now. I could get into neighborhoods. I can get into what the market's doing. What I'll do is I'll touch on where I've been so busy. Right now, the mortgage rates have just dropped down dramatically to where we're seeing them at around where they were about a year and a half ago. So I'm seeing people getting pre-approved at 4 3/8 and getting approved at 4 1/4 when they finally apply. That's making just houses fly back off the shelf where our inventory was finally starting to build, but now it's actually reducing back down again as prices start increasing. But the thing is, if you're looking for a long-term hold, anything over 7 years, it's a great time to buy, even if you're overpaying a little bit, because you're locking in such a low interest rate and going to take advantage of market appreciation over that long period. So people are buying like crazy. Tax abatements and new construction are very big right now. And there's a few particular neighborhoods that I think are your number one sellers, and those two off the top of my head are Fishtown and West Philly. West Philly being actually our number one neighborhood in appreciation right now, at least in this quarter, because I associate that mostly to Penn. Penn has a great grant program, and they keep pushing out, and they keep just really a lot of you're getting a lot of doctors, you're getting a lot of people that work for Penn buying out in these nice big Victorian homes and restoring them, because the stock of houses in Philly is so nice, but they've just been so run down for so long. But they're finally turning over, and we're really turning into a metropolitan city. It's exciting stuff.
That's great. It's never been a better time to be in your world, right?
It's actually never been a better time to be in my world in this city.
So before we go, what last pieces of advice can you offer to any boomers or seniors who are thinking about downsizing?
Honestly, it's make a plan. Don't wait to call a realtor or a tax advisor or an estate attorney or anybody when you're finally ready to do something. If you're starting to have the inklings of a thought, it could be a 6-month to a year plan to really have yourself set up for success. And that's generally what I like to do. Is I like to get a call about a year in advance sometimes, or at least 6 months in advance, so we can make the strategy to help. So we're ready to go, that they're going to be on to the next thing, or if we need to help someone declutter, or we need to help someone renovate, or we need to do any of those items. We can really make decisions way better if we have that time to look, instead of having to just go and it doesn't matter what the result is.
Time is always either our friend or our enemy, depending upon how much we have.
As simple as that.
So, well, Chris, this has been terrific. I want to thank you for coming on the show. But time does fly, and we are out of it at this point. It's been great having Chris Hvostal on my show. He's a wealth of information about residential real estate in the Philadelphia market, so be sure to reach out to him if you have any questions. Until next Tuesday at 11, this is Bill Borton. I'll be back on RVN TV with more Live Better Longer. Have a great week.